What's up, everybody? I'm Justin Young, and that man right there is Josh Tech, none other than Josh Tech, the editor of Georgia High School Basketball on HoopSeen.com. And Josh, March to Macon, man. We got one round under us. We got a lot of games to go through. We got a lot of games to preview. Man, but what a fun way to start the tournament, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it last night, especially with what was last night? I forgot. I don't know what day it is, honestly.
It doesn't matter.
Last night was Wednesday. That's when most of the games were. So trying to take in all the results was just like drinking out of a fire hose. One of your favorite sayings, and that's what it was like.
It is. The first round is a lot to take in. You can't find any places that have multiple games at the same time or at the same place, rather. So you're trying to throw the dart and hit the bullseye as best as you can to get some good matchups. And so sometimes it comes down to logistics, which I think is the case for a lot of people in the first round of the playoffs. But we do have a lot to talk about. We want to talk about what we learned from the first round in Georgia High School State basketball playoffs. We're going to talk about some of the big performances. And, of course, we're going to set the table now as we get really right back at it again, as we got some really good matchups now that we've kind of seeded, gone through a lot of the seedings have kind of played themselves out. And man, we got some really good matchups in round two. So let's get into it, Josh. What did you learn right out of the gate from round one?
I think the general theme for me was don't overthink things, right? At this time of year, a lot of people, or, throughout the season, a lot of people will kind of tell you, I think this team can get upset in the playoffs. I think that team can beat this team, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I think in general, this first round proved to me, just don't overthink things. A lot of people are saying that Kel could get knocked off in the 5A playoffs. I went to go see Kel, and they looked really, really damn good. CJ Brown, Cannon Richards, Jalen Cologne, phenomenal. They were phenomenal in the first round.
I don't know, man. People say a lot of things, but what we've learned usually in Georgia is that what you think is going to happen is going to happen. In fact, here I got a number for you. I was trying to pull it up on my phone. I tweeted it out really late last night before I fell asleep with the computer on my chest. That's what happens when you're old. You wear your glasses on the edge of your nose and you fall asleep in the middle of things. Oh man, I had a really good note on our number one seeds, which Kel is, right? Kel's the number one seed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Of the 64 number one seeds, 8 in the 8 different brackets, 58 of them won. Okay, so basically it was chalk across the board, which is usually kind of the case every single year. So, I mean, from a big picture, I think the biggest – I don't know if it was really an upset, but Buford, I think, was the biggest giant that went down in round one. Did that surprise you at all that Berkmar took care of business on the road?
I guess when you say it out loud, it shouldn't, because Berkmar's been awesome for the last X amount of years. However long they've been awesome for a while. They've made deep runs in the playoffs. But I think we since the early 2000s, right? They went back to back to start the millennium. So there you go. And I just think that a lot of us that have kind of analyzed brackets thought that Buford was like, oh man, that's probably the Final Four team out of that one. So I think that's why that's the upset, right? It's got nothing to do with Berkmar. I think everybody was just that, high on Buford making a run. And on paper it's an upset, but when you say it out loud, you're like, oh yeah, it's Berkmar, duh.
Well, I think it goes to show too, we've talked about regions of doom right here on the pod, and it proved, by the way, your region, the OG region of doom, Region 6, Division 1A, is that the one? I think it is. I get the two ones. They went 4-0. Region 7 out of 7A, that's Norcross and Berkmar and all those guys. They went 4-0. Region 2 out of 5A went 4-0. And Region 7 out of D2 1A or single A also. So only 4 regions swept in the playoffs, which I think is really interesting. And credit to you that I feel like we do need to make the Region of Doom shirt, and we've got to make it for all of these regions, because that's pretty impressive to sweep in the playoffs.
Absolutely, for sure.
I think there was another one too. I forgive me. I'm kind of working on no sleep. We got a new little baby over here, which means my sleeping patterns are out of whack. Here we go. Jones. So here are the other number one seeds that went down. Jones County beat Bradwell Institute. Woodland Henry County beat Southwest DeKalb. Hebron Christian beat White County. Southwest Atlantic Christian beat Warren County. And Kings Ridge was over Social Circle, which I know was a game that you had circled right on the first round. So any of those wins surprise you? I think Kings Ridge was like, yeah, that one, they were.
Yeah, that one was a coin flip, and I kind of lean. I guess if I were to have picked which side of the coin I would have, bet on, it would have been Kings Ridge, but that was a coin flip. I think White County losing early is kind of surprising just because Jaden is that good of a player. Bradwell Institute was kind of a sleeper team that I thought would be really good. Chris Perry is one of the best freshmen in the state. So Jones County isn't the surprise in that one. I think Bradwell Institute losing is the surprise in that one.
Yeah, I know you mentioned some really good players going out in the first round. You always hate to see that. You want to make sure star players stick around. But, hey, that's the tournament. So, speaking of star players, let's talk about top performers. Who were some of the big dogs out of round one?
When I was at Kel, Jalen Cologne hit 8 3-pointers and had like almost 30 points. He is, man, when that guy gets on a heater from 3, it is a show. It is like, it's just one of those performances that just makes you laugh, right? He's just pulling from like audacious range. And it's just like, it's so crazy just because how far he pulls from. You'll just be like, he's not going to pull from there. And he pulls and just all net. And it's just like, wow, this guy can really shoot the ball. And when he gets on a heater, it's like one of the most fun things in Georgia to watch. And then Ricky McKenzie at Wheeler. I was at Wheeler last night on Wednesday night for their game against Milton. Talk about 2 blue bloods in the first round. Ricky McKenzie played his best basketball as a Wildcat this season. He had 22 points, and he was really the difference maker in the first half for Wheeler. He had 14 of their points in the first half and kind of, kept them afloat.
I think that's what we're going to see is championship level teams where guys that are not maybe the lead actor of the movie are stepping up. Those supporting actors are really important in the postseason. Obviously, Ricky McKenzie, a guy, great name, by the way. Great name, great player to have a great game on that particular night. And I think, too, that's really the key, right? Where depth is really going to have to be important, especially on some of these really power brackets where you need to have some of your other guys step up, keep your other guys maybe a little fresh for those next rounds as we move forward. So anybody else that stood out or anything else we want to talk about from the first round?
Yeah, I mean, I got to talk about Cannon Richards for Kel. He is one of my favorite players to watch in the state. Like he just gets it done, man. This guy plays hard. He's athletic. He pursues rebounds like no one else I've ever seen, and he's always productive. He had I don't have his stats right off the top of my head, but I think it was like 14 and 7 or something like that, and that's just kind of indicative of his entire season. I feel like I could pencil him in for 14 and 7, 14 and 10, 15 and 10, something like that, and it'll be right. Like I don't even have to watch the game. I'll be like, oh, Cannon Richards, yeah, he probably had 15 points and almost 10 rebounds.
I think you broke your keyboard. You wrote so much leading into the tournament of previewing all the different brackets, and you picked your winners. You did an unbelievable job. So it's still there. I mean, if you're watching this, go back, read it all. Josh did an unbelievable job putting that all together. After round one, do you have any changes, any edits of any of your picks?
Yeah, well, Langston Hughes was my Final Four pick in 6A, I believe they're in, and they lost in the first round to River Ridge. So I thought that one kind of threw my bracket out of whack, and that's just how it goes, man. Like no matter how much you follow this stuff, whether it be the NCAA tournament or high school, tournaments, there's just surprises that are going to happen. And River Ridge has been good all season, so it's not too much of a surprise. I was just betting on the Rory Welsh kind of history in March.
Sure.
Or February.
I'm sure people that had Buford go in the Final Four also needs to recalibrate a little bit now and think about where they're at. But all right, let's move on. Let's talk about round 2 of the state tournament. And so I think there's a number of games now that when we were both looking at it really late last night, like, okay, it's getting juicy now, right? And I think that's where the fun really begins. Let me get out the master list here, Josh. Check. We went through.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. And also, if you want to find picks from 5 picks from 7A, 5 picks from 6A and 5A, and so on and so forth, go to HoopSeen.com. They're all up there. There's 5 picks from multiple classifications.
I love it.
For second round games to watch. 5 picks to watch.
There you go. While you're there, see that link right there that we have? It says HoopSeen.com. There we go. HoopSeen.com/events. Our events are about to start. We're like less than a month away. We've got the HoopSeen Preview Camp coming March 12th at Swanee Sports Academy. Of course, Georgia Cup is a great start for boys and girls teams, middle school, high school, elementary school, all levels. And, of course, the tip-off, which we have previewed right here on the screen, is coming up at the end of March, basically a month away, 1 month away. I'll actually be there for that, so I'm excited.
Unsigned seniors, go to the spring preview camp. That's a good way to kind of cap your high school season.
Yeah. Proven. It's really one of my. It's probably outside of our elite camp. That and the unsigned senior are really, to me, the guys that benefit the most. So, all right, Josh, let's get into this here. We had a lot of picks. We had a lot of games that we had to kind of sift through. I challenged you, and ironically enough, separate from each other, I think we picked 3 or 4 of the very best games independent of each other from round one. And I think when you looked at all the games in round 2, was there a definitive that's the best game of round 2 across all classifications?
Yeah, Tri-Cities at Hiram is the best game for me in 5A. That's fantastic.
That was the best game.
That's a Final Four. That's a Final Four game.
Was your top game. Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Hiram and Tri-Cities. Why is that your number one game?
Well, you got Tri-Cities, who always wins at this time of year. They are a proven winner in the March to Macon. They're built on toughness. They have tough guards. And then Hiram has been incredible this season. I predicted them as funny enough, I predicted both of these teams as Final Four favorites in the preseason. Obviously, that can't shake out. So in my head, you have 2 Final Four caliber teams going at it in the second round. That's a no-brainer pick for me. I think Hiram's been fantastic all season. Tri-Cities has been really good too, and they have proven track record of success at this time of year. So
I'm pulling up my notes. Sorry, I'm not. I am listening. I'm pulling up my notes about Hiram because when we were doing prep, there was something that was fascinating about Hiram. So just give me 1 second to pull that up. I should have been better prepared. This is a producer fail on my end.
No, it's all good. But if you're looking for guard play, this is a really great matchup for that. I mean, both teams boast some of the better guards in 5A. So if you're out there looking for toughness and guard play, this is the game for you.
Here we go. Hiram. This is their one sheet. Okay, like their PR one sheet. They're undefeated at home. They're undefeated in region. They now have a 16-game win streak, and in that streak, well, in the 15 games leading into the playoffs, I don't know what they won by last night, off the top of my head, but in that streak, they're winning games on an average of 25 points a game, which is just phenomenal for Hiram just to be like clubbing people down the stretch for 15 straight games. So Tri-Cities
won by 23 last night, I think.
On brand.
68-54 or 68-45, pardon me.
On brand. Tri-Cities, though, is a team that will throw punches back, figuratively speaking, right? Like they will absolutely stand in the ring and take your best punches. So the more that we kind of get into this, I actually appreciate that. We know that the program, Tri-Cities is a program that will not lay down for anybody, to your points well taken there, a postseason proven club. Omari Forts is really one of the most impressive guys that we have in high school basketball coaching.
Sure. In 5A, kind of all season has been Kell and Eagles Landing and everybody else. If there are 2 teams that can disrupt that order, it is Hiram and Tri-Cities. So this is if you're looking for like a team that can kind of stop those 2 powers from winning it all, it's one of these 2 teams.
Well, critical game then in 5A, no doubt about it. Certainly makes your number 1 game overall. This is the game that I thought was going to be your top game overall, and that's going to be Pebblebrook taking on Newton, going to Newton and playing out there, basically just going across I-20, coming across the city of Atlanta from one side to the other. That place is going to be packed. Okay.
That place is going to be rocking. Newton, if you don't know, Newton's home court is insane. If they have a big game there, that place goes crazy, and that place is going to be rocking for Pebblebrook.
This is actually, like, from a big picture hoop head point of view, this is West Side guard view and East Side guard view going an absolute head-to-head. Think about the guards that we've had out of both of these programs over the last 12 years.
Oh, I know. It's insane.
I mean, it is insane on how many guys have been point guards or shooting guards or combo guards that have played at both these programs that have had success, not just in high school, but in collegiate and, of course, even on to pros. I mean, it is a who's list of guys that we've seen come out of those programs. In fact, that would be an unbelievable alumni game, like at a pro-am, is the Pebblebrook guards, the Newton guards. That'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, this one's got the star power too. You got Stephon Castle and Ja'Kai Newton for Newton, appropriately enough. You've got Jayon Simon going to Dayton over there at Pebblebrook. You've got Jason McCullough, who's been shooting the lights out for Pebblebrook. This is a really, really good matchup.
Is this going to be a possession for possession type of game, do you think? Because Pebblebrook's record, I don't think, is indicative of the type of team that they really are.
Yeah, I mean, Pebblebrook beat Norcross, and Norcross is a team that I have going to the Final Four out of this portion of the bracket. So yeah, I mean, this could be blow for blow, possession for possession. While this might not be the Pebblebrook of like power that we've seen in the last couple of years, they're still Pebblebrook, right? They're still as good as ever, and they're still tough. They still got a guy like Jayon Simon who can be a complete difference maker. And yeah, I think they can reasonably go into Newton and pull this game off.
I think it's a pick 'em. I think this game's an absolute pick 'em. I really do.
Yeah, I got that home court is insane. So I got to give Newton the edge there, just because you get a couple points for that rowdy atmosphere. But yeah, I agree. It's not definitively Newton in this one.
I'm setting the line at 155.5 over or under.
Oh God, I'm not a betting guy. So out there,
go ahead
and put it below because I certainly don't.
I love it. All right, let's keep it moving. Is there another game? So that's 2 games that we've got on the list. I've got some other ones here that we've got highlighted. Which one do you feel like is your third best game? Or just we've got to go.
Parkview at Carrollton is one that I'm looking at in 7A because that portion of the bracket is wide open. And I think these are 2 of the teams that I was deciding between as being my Final Four favorite. I picked Carrollton because Carrollton is just riding a tremendous hot streak. They beat Pebblebrook and they beat Westlake to gain the number 1 seed. They won their game last night. And now they go up against Parkview, who's got Jacob Wilkins, who's our number 1 sophomore in the state of Georgia and one of the best sophomores in the country at this point. And then you've got Mike Matthews, who's a superstar football player. He's also a great guard on the basketball court. So Parkview's got super talent. Carrollton's riding this hot streak. They've also got talent. So I think that one's a sleeper game in 7A that everybody should pay attention to.
I wonder if this is the type of game or even the next, well, let's take it game by game. For Jacob Wilkins, right? We do have him as our number 1 guy in Georgia's sophomore class, which is proving to be a really good looking class. Nationwide, it's a pretty good class. And, Carrollton is a program that I think has built its foundation on never really having like one of these nationally ranked guys, but a tremendous program that if you're a coach, like, oh God, we got to play Carrollton. That's going to be a real challenge, like a really good team. But are these the type of games? Are we seeing the resume play out in front of our eyes for the nation to really understand why we feel the way we do about Jacob Wilkins? Like how to that end is like, and I'm not trying to put any pressure on the poor guy, but like, is this one of those games or this is one of those stretches where this is his way of really like kind of planting his flag on his own name and his own game?
It doesn't hurt, but I think that team has enough pieces to where he doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be the Jacob Wilkins show. Like they have enough guys who can take over a game to where he doesn't have to have that pressure on his shoulders, but it certainly wouldn't hurt. Like if he goes out there and has, one of those crazy games that we've seen him have a million times this season where it's like 20 points, 10 rebounds, 7 blocks, 5 assists or something like that, that will, kind of further the narrative of Jacob Wilkins being the rising superstar in the state of Georgia. But it doesn't have to be that way for him. He can kind of feed the hot hand, right? This team has multiple guys who can take over a game, so he didn't have to bear the brunt of that.
Well, I was on a different pod. What pod was it? Oh, it was on our HoopSeen W pod. We have a segment every week that we call prospecting. And our guy, Nate Altenhofen, he had 4 categories within this. It was actually really good. In fact, if you want to go over to HoopSeen W Twitter and go find it, Nate Altenhofen's got 30 years of experience coaching collegiately, like really successful. Of course, he's the director of scouting over there for our women's division. And within intangibles, his number 1 thing was being a closer. And I loved it. And I told him, man, I'm obsessed with this. Like I want to come up with something on the men's side, talking about the best closers. And so for me, in this context of even like a guy like Jacob Wilkins or just anybody in general, maybe that Pebblebrook Newton game was certainly like Steph Castle. Is he a closer, right? Like, are these the intangibles of great players? Do they have that ability to just go close a game, right? Like, that they're going to just take it over. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. So that was fun. If you want to go take a look, it was a really good pod that Nate and I did. Certainly worth a listen. All right, let's keep it moving, Josh. What other games we got on here that you want to keep your eyes on?
Let's go down to sorry, you have to pardon me because a lot of teams change classifications, so it's gonna throw me off. I think this is in 2A. Butler at Spencer.
2A.
Yeah. So Butler last year made, I guess, for the people in the Atlanta Metro, including myself, they made a surprise run to the 2A championship. Along the way, they had to beat Pace at Pace. That's where the surprise and the rise runs from, because not many people beat Pace at Pace. So they made a run to the 2A championship. Spencer is your reigning 4A champions. So right here, we've got a really good matchup that could determine a Final Four participant out of this side of the bracket.
That game's at Spencer?
It's at Spencer, yeah.
So we got Columbus hosting Augusta. Really, I think, an important game. The big picture for Georgia basketball. I love this.
Especially for those Atlanta Metro people, this is one to keep an eye on because it showcases the talent from the areas that we might not get to see as much.
Totally. And that's exactly where I was going to go. If you're into watching games online, which I hope that you are, because the resources are there, this is one where, yeah, I get it, man. You can't get down to Columbus on a Friday night. Cool, I get that. That's not an easy drive if you're coming from like the north side. If you're like a real hoop head, but watch it online. I mean, like watch it on Saturday morning, right? Like just
I'll be watching some of these games back. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like this is a really good opportunity to highlight some of our best players we've got in Georgia, and really when you got Columbus and Augusta, two really fine basketball cities going head to head, a lot of pride on that one, no doubt about it, which will certainly, I think, propel them further even into the tournament too. All right, last one on the list, not in any sort of order, but you mentioned Pace earlier. We got Walnut Grove going into the castle there off Paces Ferry Road, taking on Pace Academy. I think that.
Actually, I think this one is Pace at. I think this one's Pace at Walnut Grove. Walnut Grove is the 1 seed, and this one, and Pace is the.
Oh, you're right. I wrote down the Paces. I think going into the tournament ranked higher in the state rankings than it was.
Yeah.
That's what screwed me up. Sorry. Okay, so here we go. We got Pace on the road. Are they a road dog? Are they an underdog?
Yeah. Honestly, they might be, because Walnut Grove is good. I mean, they have a guard in Marcus Smith who's been playing. He's been playing unbelievably right now. He's on a heater. He hit the game-winning bucket to clinch the region championship game for them. He played well the other night. He's been playing well all season. He's a sophomore who's kind of rising up the ranks. They've got a big and Alex Cannon who can alter shots at the rim. And they've got just different pieces all over the court. And I think this underrated collection of talent in the state and in 4A specifically. And then you've got Pace, who's the proven team. Sharman White's got all the pedigree in the world. KJ Green's been having a fantastic season. Eric Chatfield's a rising star in the sophomore ranks, and it's just two of the heavyweights in this region kind of going at it. Boys classification going at it.
Well, like we just talked about being a closer, and I think for young guys like going on the road, I mean these are huge growth moments for players in their trajectory, not just as a high school player, but as a prospect overall. Because listen, man, going on the road at the collegiate level, I don't care what level you are, it is so hard to win a game on the road. And this is where that DNA starts to really get strengthened as far as your ability to go be a closer. Those intangibles get tightened up, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And don't just bet on the name in this one. I know Pace is the name, and Pace is kind of the one that people would automatically advance. But Walnut Grove can win this game. And like I said, they might be favored in this game. So if you're kind of just like a tangential follower or anything like that, don't sleep on Walnut Grove in this game. They're a talented group.
He's Josh Tech. I'm Justin Young. We've been talking about Georgia High School basketball right here on the Shot Clock on HoopSeen TV right here on YouTube. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell so every time we put a new video up, you know right away. That'll do us a big favor on the algorithms and help us become really good friends with Google or however they do that. I'm not sure how it works. All right, Josh, couple things. Some honorable mentions, some other notes. I thought it was impossible to pick the best game in 6A because I thought every single game was really, really good.
I didn't. That's why there's not one on this list, because I was like, dude, there's a lot of interesting games here.
Yeah.
I don't feel like 6A has that kind of like, I'm betting on this team, like a lockup kind of team, like how 7A's got like a handful of teams. You're like, if one of those teams doesn't win, I'll be surprised. 6A is kind of wide open to me. I think a lot of teams can win this classification, win this tournament, and it's showing in this second round where you look at some of these games, you're like, I wouldn't be surprised if that team beat that team or whatever.
I like the Marist Grovetown matchups, kind of intriguing. Two different styles of play. Really interesting is, that's why you play the tournament to get, different matchup styles going head to head. I really like Lanier and South Paulding as well. I think that's a really intriguing game.
That one's one to look out for. South Paulding, Lanier is probably the favorite. Other than Grovetown, I would say Lanier is probably the favorite to win it all. And South Paulding's been playing really well recently. They can win that game, and that would be it wouldn't be a huge upset because of how well South Paulding's been playing recently, but that would be an upset nonetheless.
Yeah, with first round pretty much going chalk in 6A, it definitely leads for some really good matchups, 2 versus 3 and those types of things here in or not 2 versus 3, like 1 versus 3s and 2 versus 1s, etc. So, anyways, all right. So a couple other just real quick kind of drive-bys here. We got Valdosta playing at Grayson, which is a good opportunity for Grayson to see a team that they probably don't have a lot of experience with or know much about. Valdosta will certainly come with a lot of pride. It's Championship City after all. Really interested by Madison County and Leavitt down in 4A.
That's a great game. That was number 6 on my list. Madison County is a really good team. They've got they've got talent on that team. Jay Caruth was the player of the year. He's a guy that can take over a game. Grant Smith is another really good sophomore. And then Christian Anderson's been Christian Anderson. He's been averaging close to 40 points a game over the last stretch. He was kind of quiet last night with 19 points. That's a quiet Christian Anderson game, but he's been kind of on a heater at least recently. And Kyle Walters is really good for that team as well.
Remind me of the young kid's name at Cedar Grove, the freshman that you like.
At Cedar Grove? Oh, Manny Green. He's a freshman. Yeah, he's fantastic.
So we've got Cedar Grove playing Monroe area. So again, we talked about like real pivotal moments for young players. You talked about the young guy, Chris Perry down at Bradwell losing the first round. So now we got Manny over there at Cedar Grove. So I'm always keeping an eye on freshmen to see like where are these moments where they really kind of put themselves on the map. So I'm keeping my eyes on your guy Manny over there at Cedar Grove. Any other just kind of drive-by notes in any of these second round games that jump out to you, Josh?
No, I'm glad you brought it up. That Cedar Grove Monroe area game, that is another sneaky good game. See, that one could be like, all right, whoever wins this is going to the Final Four. I think that's a really fantastic matchup. I think maybe both teams might have been operating off their purview of some of the bigger teams. Like Wheeler draws a lot of attention, McKeechee draws a lot of attention, but these two teams have been really good all season. Cedar Grove opened the season just scorching hot, and Monroe area has been steady all season long. So that one's another really good one. I'm glad you brought that one up.
It's fun now. I mean, every game now really moving forward is one that I think you got to get the popcorn ready to go. So if you're looking for something to do, go buy another screen, maybe just stream as much as you can, watch as much as you can. We know that we will be doing that this weekend as well. No doubt about it. Josh, and I know I always put you on the spot. Where are you going?
Tomorrow. Well, actually, I got to find out what dates games are actually being played.
Fair.
So let me say this really quickly. If you see me at Wheeler a lot, it's because we only have a few games of Isaiah Collier left, and I think he's an important enough player to kind of see through to the end, right? Like he is kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say generational, but in Georgia, he's kind of, this stretch is kind of one of the hallmark players of the whatever stretch we're in, right? Whatever era we're in, Isaiah Collier is one of those kind of hallmark players, the same way Jabari Smith was, the same way, some of those people of that caliber are. And I think it's important to see those guys through to, finish off their career. So, and it's also close to my house. So if you see me at Wheeler a lot, that's probably, you can probably find me there on Saturday or on Friday, whenever they play. And then the other day, I don't know where I'm going to go because I don't know which dates are which, but I will post it on Twitter.
I love it. So make sure you follow Josh on Twitter, as well as keep following on HoopSeen GA and HoopSeen, of course. Overall, really just a quick reminder. Go ahead, Josh. What's up?
Can I shout out a team that we shouted out in one of the earlier episodes, Johnson Savannah? They put 107 points up on the board in their first round game, and that team looks like a juggernaut that is not to be messed with. So if you find me down in Savannah at some point, that's where I'll be.
If the stars align and Sandy Creek matches up with Solcy Johnson,
I'll be there for that. I will be there for that.
Yeah, that could be an NBA point total game for sure. Take the over.
Yeah, that would be a fantastic matchup. And Johnson Savannah, boy, oh boy, 107 points. Are you kidding me? That is crazy.
Well, I think Sandy Creek scored 103. So I mean, those two teams scored 210 points combined in round one. So, anyways, a lot of offense. Again, make sure you keep it right there. HoopSeen.com/events. Make sure you get the calendar figured out. If you're a travel coach, you've watched us this far, almost 30 minutes in. We appreciate you doing that. Go ahead and get your team registered. We're going to sell out all of our events. We do. We sell them out every year. You're going to want to get in. Josh, as you mentioned earlier, if you're an unsigned senior, make sure March 12th, Swanee Sports Academy circled in Sharpie on your calendar.
I'll be there.
Preview. Josh will be there. Our whole team will be there. We got you covered all over the place from top to bottom. So until then, Josh, we'll see you round 3 as we prepare for that after these really, really good games in round 2. Thanks for the insight, man.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for having me.